divorce lawyers of Reddit, what are some of your most memorable cases? Had a client whose soon-to-be ex-husband used her email address and phone number to sign her up for every bank, loan, religious, mental illness, and adult site he could think of. She was bombarded by people contacting her about her interest in their product services. He even put out ads for adult partners on Craigslist with her information. The kicker is that she actually went out with a guy who contacted her. If I learned anything being a divorce attorney, I no longer practice. It was that if the opposing party sounded like a nutcase, I would soon see the nutcase come out of my own client. Normal people don't just accidentally marry crazies, not often. Worked as courtroom clerk front desk when I was in college. A couple argued on the custody details on their son. I thought it was the normal "I won't let you see him, you piece of crap." But the mom wants the dad to spend more time during holidays together. All three of them. And the dad wants to do the same, just more frequently. They ended up reconciled and agreed to couples therapy before the divorce procedure went further. But then they came back a month later to withdraw the divorce proceeding. Well, at least this turned out well. It's nice to see something not quite so depressing. Honduran couple came in for divorce consult. I informed them I could only represent and advise one of them, and wife called first, so I am representing her. He furiously storms out. 2 days later, he hides in the bushes outside the house where she is staying. When she leaves to go to work, he jumps out and decapitates her with a machete. 2 small kids in the house. Terrible crap. I once represented a client from a divorcing couple who still lived together pending the sale of the family home but would not speak to one another for any reason whatsoever. Had to negotiate terms with opposing counsel for the sharing of refrigerator space. Had a husband and wife go toe-to-toe over an ashtray they got in Vegas at some point. Neither smoked, strangely enough. Spent nearly $5,000 for me and another attorney to duke it out in court over the silly thing. Prior to proceeding, I explained what the cost would be for to argue over something silly like this and that he could give me $2,500 and I would fly to Vegas for the weekend and get him an identical one instead. He said he didn't care about the costs because he intended to smash it on the courthouse steps in front of her if we won. We won and he followed through with the smashing. He laughed and said the look on her face was worth much more than $2,500. People get crazy in divorce proceedings. He could give me $2,500 and I would fly to Vegas for the weekend. Nice try. Worked for a family law lawyer in Santa Cruz. One of her frequent opponents, a decent, if aggressive, lawyer, just down the street, got a package bomb wrapped like a Christmas present. He picked it up, and it blew up in his face, blew off most of his fingers, and left shrapnel in his face and chest. Last I heard, he dropped out of the legal profession. Happened on Christmas Eve in 1996. I worked for a law firm while in college and we had a client who had just come home from a 2-week vacation with his wife only to be served with divorce papers and a temporary restraining order as soon as they pulled in the driveway. Wife didn't say a word and just went into their house. Poor guy came straight to our office and was massively confused, to say the least. Husband and wife still living together at the time had a small confrontation. The husband pulls a sphincter, says what on her, and she takes the bait and says what. He giggled like a little kid. She then told her lawyer, who had to talk to his lawyer. His lawyer asked him if he called his wife a sphincter and told him he's not allowed to call her that anymore. His lawyer asked him if he called his wife a sphincter and told him he's not allowed to call her that anymore. Technically, he didn't in the first place. She identified as one when he asked. My brother is a divorce attorney. His most memorable case, he was representing a guy in a divorce custody battle who was accused of horrific child abuse. Very graphic, very detailed depositions from the young kids against daddy. Things look grim. Then my brother, a failed actor, notices the deposition transcript, done by social workers under oath, contains a question at the end from one of the kids. Did I hit my marks? He wonders how little kids know about acting jargon. Subpoenas wife's personal checking account during discovery. Sure enough, acting lessons. Deposes an extremely sketchy acting coach, and panics. Coach produces DVDs of practice interrogations with the kids, hours of coaching the kids on exactly what imaginary things to say about daddy. He says it was his one and only Perry Mason moment in 20+ years of practice, and dad got sole custody of the kids. What a terrible, terrible human being. The husband's statement of property listed all the food in the kitchen as of the date of separation, complete with estimated values for each item. Campbell's vegetable soup, $0.79. 20+ year divorce lawyer here. I've seen it all. I once represented a husband divorcing his wife of 35+ years. They were in their late 60s. At mediation they divided up about $500,000 in assets within 30 minutes. Then they spent 2.5 hours fighting over 2 hurricane glasses from Pat O'Brien's and a pitchfork. Mediator: she really wants that pitchfork. It was a gift from her daddy. Husband: that B. We bought it at Home Depot 2 years ago. And etc. They settled at mediation after spending over $1,000 in attorney fees combined for the glasses and pitchfork. They remarried 3 months later. My first trial. My client was being sued for a divorce on grounds of habitual cruel and inhuman treatment. Her husband alleged that she grabbed his dong really hard and hurt it. He alleged it was on purpose. I had to cross-examine him about it. Now Mrs. So-and-so, can you show me how you grabbed his penis? And once more for the jury. One more time for the judge. Almost done. One more for the defense. My first client was in an abusive relationship. Her soon-to-be ex told her she wasn't going to get a dime in support, would text her terrible things about how he would never pay, ended up getting her a sizable support order for her and her children. I remember the last thing I talked to her about was that she was so happy she finally took control of her life. A few days later I got a call from opposing counsel asking if I would consent to terminate the support order. I ask, why would I do that? Turns out she passed away in her sleep the day prior. Heart issues that she suffered from for years. Postscript: opposing counsel, a relatively young guy, also passed away soon after. I think I might be the only survivor from that case. Also had a client who fought tooth and nail over cookie sheets. Perspective, I suppose. My aunt has been divorced for quite some time. She drives our attorney crazy with her requests demands. Most recently she took her husband to court over 1. He switched the beneficiary of his life insurance policy from her, the ex-wife, to their children. 2. She wants court-ordered drug tests weekly. She found out from her friend who works at a pharmacy that he has had quite a few narcotic prescriptions, but obviously can't enter that into evidence, or friend will be fired. 3. Wants to know the days he's working and locations, so she can have her private investigator keep an eye out and make sure the new girlfriend isn't joining him at hotels he's charging on his work card. At some point, she just needs to let it go and move on. She got the house, and the house payments, the kids, the boat, and the Marriott points. He doesn't pay alimony or child support, so it seems like it worked out well. I don't understand why people go through so much trouble. Not a lawyer, but as a courthouse clerk, I had a court order come across my desk that explicitly banned a father from playing Minecraft with his son over the internet because the ex-wife alleged that the in-game chat was a form of improper contact that wasn't outlined in their custody visitation plan. Former court clerk here. The crap you see as a clerk is often like the real life version of WTF. For 5+ years I spent my days in awe, and for the majority of them, not in a good way, though I think it helped develop my sense of humor. My mom works in divorce court. She comes home with stories that are interesting, sad, funny, and sometimes just weird. It's what you would expect for the most part. Then there are the drug addicts that don't want to give up custody. The day of the drug test comes and the person miraculously decided to shave their entire body. Tests are now given right after the judge asks for one. And some are hilarious when you are not the one involved. My favorite is, a voicemail is played in court as evidence. The wife is cheating on the guy. This voicemail is from the husband to the wife. Hey, I know you are there. The only reason you can't answer is because I know you can't speak with that guy's dong in your mouth. Sometimes my mom has those stories which are funny if you are not involved. This is why I could never be in a courtroom. I'd laugh myself into a stroke. My client's husband cheated on her with another woman and he took some photographs of the penetration. She found the pictures on the husband's computer but his face was not in any of them. So during a deposition I had to ask him if the penis in the photographs belonged to him, and he said he wasn't sure. When I pressed him on why he could not identify his own penis, He claimed that exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam caused him to have memory problems. I'm a real estate lawyer, but a friend of a friend is a divorce lawyer. I was once told a story where said lawyer was brutally attacked by a client's former spouse. Apparently the former spouse blamed the divorce attorney for taking him to the cleaners in the divorce. The worst part is that the lawyer was at the grocery store doing his weekly food shopping with his wife and kids when he was savagely beaten. Criminal lawyers work with the worst people on their best behavior. Family lawyers work with the best people on their worst behavior. Criminal lawyers work with the worst people on their best behavior. Family lawyers work with the best people on their worst behavior. Dang, that's a good one. I work for a mortgage company and occasionally we have to review divorce decrees if someone is divorcing to remove a spouse's name from the loan. There is a notorious case known around my pretty large department as the cat divorce decree account. In this divorce decree, there is a 5-page addendum specifically regarding Mittens and Buttons Johnson. Names changed for their protection. Memorable clauses included: mandatory 10-minute Skype sessions weekly, no unsupervised playdates with children under 15, and that their claws be trimmed every 3 days. Not divorce related but still interesting. When a local couple died, their will indicated that their house and sizable fortune would remain in trust, managed by family friends, until their several cats died of natural causes. The odd thing is, it's been over 20 years now, and the cats are still alive. Also, they've changed color. Last sentence made me roll. When I was an assistant, I was involved with a PFA, protection from abuse, proceeding for a divorcing couple. The allegation was that the husband sent his brother a Facebook message that said, "Somebody's about to get raised. Looks pretty bad, right?" Well, both the husband and the brother get on the stand and explain that they were talking about their mother. They said that, ever since they were kids, when their mom would yell at them, they would say crap like, "Mom, you're about to get rock bottomed, or you keep it up and you're gonna get a stone cold stunner." Mind you, these guys were, at the time of this hearing, in their late 20s. It was all I could do to keep from laughing. I was just picturing the kids from Talladega Nights the whole time. I'm not a divorce lawyer, but when I was at a mediation a few months ago, the mediator was telling me about a divorce he mediated a few years back. It was your classic rich guy is sick of his wife and kids, and wants a divorce to run off with a young, hot piece of butt. His wife wanted blood. She came to the mediation with some pretty outrageous demands about the money and property she'd receive. The mediator pushed hard throughout a long day of mediation, but she hadn't budged an inch. Finally, very late in the day, the husband threw up his hands and said, "Frick it, give her everything she's asking for and let's be done with it." The mediator went back to the wife's conference room to share the good news that the husband had caved in, and she flipped the frick out, glowing incandescent with rage at the idea that her husband was willing to pay truly insane compensation to be done with her and ride off with his little girlfriend. She was emotionally invested in the fight, and the hubby eventually dismissed it, and her, as not worth his time. I can understand her rage. Divorce lawyer here. I've never had anything too crazy. The worst I can think of is representing my client who had to be transported from the jail for, allegedly, violating the restraining order between the two. There was another one that was technically a dissolution of domestic partnership, not a divorce, but essentially the same thing for never married parties. That was fairly crazy. Client alleged her ex had killed a man and reported it to the police, but I guess they never found the body. Also alleged his attorney was sleeping with him. One of my co-workers had a case where the ex was awarded the couple's dog in the divorce only to have it euthanized just so the other would suffer more. I don't care how bad your relationship is, there is no excuse for that. That pee me off to hear about. You've been visited by Professor Papa. You'll ace all your classes this year only if you comment study hard Papa. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.